Hey, welcome to GothCast. I'm Dr. Sanders, and yeah, I know, I cut off all my hair and stuff and decided to dress a little bit more casually for this video. A little bit more comfortable, but let's talk about some more Tim Burton stuff. You know, I didn't even realize I was reviewing so much Tim Burton stuff until I took a look back at some of my videos. And wow, I do cover quite a bit of his stuff, but I find it interesting. So let's talk about Beetlejuice.
I think it's fair to say that if you watch my channel, then you probably enjoy some Tim Burton from time to time. I've reviewed some of his books, some of his films, and this time we're taking a look at Beetlejuice. Now, Tim Burton had worked on quite a few films before this one, but Beetlejuice is where I felt he really came into his own. In fact, many of the things in this movie have become synonymous with the director. You get lovable, you get creepy characters, stripes on lots of stuff, spooky characters that goth people love to try and emulate, plus Danny Elfman does music. I'll admit, I've seen this movie a ridiculous amount of times, and I'll probably keep watching it until I die and become just like Beetlejuice himself. But let's get into the story. Husband and wife Barbara and Adam are making a quick trip into the small town they live in when they are in an unfortunate car accident and die. Instead of going to the underworld, they are stuck haunting their home. But soon after, the Dietz family move in, and much to Barbara and Adam's dismay, they aren't able to scare them away. But luckily for them, they get help from the Dietz's youngest family member, Lydia, their netherworld caseworker Juno, and the wildcard bioexorcist Beetlejuice. Well, sorta. Beetlejuice has his own motives and doesn't really care about anyone other than himself. I mean, speaking of Beetlejuice, did you know that he doesn't even show up until 25 minutes into the movie? And his entire screen time totals 17 minutes. Now, it's 17 of the greatest minutes ever in any movie, but still, just 17. Lydia Dietz is played by the 17-year-old Winona Ryder, and she has become a legitimate goth icon in terms of fashion and attitude, and her quotes will go down in history as some of the most iconic, misunderstood, mopey words ever put on screen.
My whole life is a dark room. One big, dark room. It says, live people ignore the strange and unusual. I myself am strange and unusual.
Actually, one of the biggest complaints of the movie at the time was that the two main characters, Barbara and Adam, are the most undeveloped in the story. And that's sort of true. After the movie gets going, Beetlejuice, Lydia, and the strong visuals really steal the show. Alec Baldwin, who plays Adam, has even mentioned at times that he doesn't like the movie or his performance. Come on, Alec, we love you. You're perfect. Mwah. But the special effects are really memorable. This is the movie that cemented the idea of Tim Burton and stripes, and the creatures that Beetlejuice becomes are so cool. There's a lot of stop motion, and even the blue screen in the weird desert looks pretty good. It's definitely held up in my opinion, and that's mostly due to the good art direction. Other than the visuals, the music really does steal the show for me. The main theme and all of Danny Elfman's pieces are absolutely perfect. To this day, this is pretty much what people associate with Burton. A comedic, darker tone with very bombastic Elfman music. To be honest, if you really tried to describe this movie, it's a comedic haunted house film. By the way, this movie is rated PG, and it has a teenager that is going to commit suicide, the F word in it.
Nice fucking model!
See?
And it has this.
1988 was pretty cool.
I could go on and on about how much I love this movie, but I'm just going to start throwing out trivia that seems interesting. Beetlejuice's name is spelled like this, but on the poster, it's spelled like this. Apparently, marketing thought it was funnier and easier to market. Honestly, if they did release it with his real name, you probably would have had a whole bunch of people walking around like this.
Beetlejuice, the bioexorcist.
When Beetlejuice becomes a merry-go-round, you can spot a tiny Jack Skellington-like head. And keep in mind, this is a full 5 years before Nightmare Before Christmas was released. In the dinner scene, Otho says that people who've committed suicide end up as civil servants. And that seems to be true. The receptionist has cut marks on her wrists, Juno has a big slice in her neck, and there was even going to be a segment explaining that Beetlejuice hung himself due to a heartbreak. In the continued history of Beetlejuice, there's actually a number of things that continue the story in different ways. There's an animated TV series that ran for 4 seasons and has a total of 94 episodes. There's a few video games. The character of Beetlejuice was featured in shows at Universal Studios theme parks. The first being Extreme Ghostbusters, The Great Fright Way. This was a live show where he and the Ghostbusters sang and danced. Okay. He also has his own amazing show called Beetlejuice's Graveyard Mashup, which features Beetlejuice and the classic Universal monsters playing tons of songs and dancing around. It is truly outstanding, and I urge you to watch the ridiculousness. I'll put a link in the description where you can watch it. The show is unfortunately only available in Universal Studios Japan, as it was replaced by Spider-Man Rocks at the Hollywood Park and Fast and the Furious Supercharged in the Florida Park. Ugh. Probably the biggest question is, will there ever be a sequel? I hope so. I'd just love to see what they can do with it. There was a planned sequel called Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, which would have had the Dietz family move to Hawaii to develop a resort, only to discover that it's on haunted burial grounds in which Beetlejuice must come and save the day. There is, in fact, a script out there that you can read, and I recommend it. It's not the greatest, but it's okay. But the original actors are jumping at the idea of a new sequel, which makes me hopeful.
I don't know. I mean, I'm very, very excited about it, but I don't. It's not really at a stage that I can really talk about it. But I'm just very excited. I'm thrilled for Michael. I of course love and adore Tim. So the two of them, I would read the phone book with.
Yeah, I get this asked a long time ago. I just think it's like a little piece of art that you better get right if you ever do it again. And otherwise, you just kind of don't touch it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I love the character, and I love her character. I'd be curious to see what happened to her as a person.
Absolutely.
And but it's all about the script, and we'll see what happens.
Anyway, that's Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
Well, that is my review of Beetlejuice, and maybe Beetlejuice will show up in some of the other stuff I'm going to talk about in the future. But until then, just enjoy and stay spooky and all that stuff and blah, blah, blah.